thank you for joining me for another episode of Throwback Thursday. So, for this Thursday, we will be featuring a Christmas suite of products. This product is the Sweet Stockings suite. In this suite, we have the Sweet Little Stockings bundle. So, this cute stamp set that's got some of our animals, and there's a little bit of a throne there. So we have stockings, we have some gifts, we have some nice greetings here with a really nice font. And then there are the coordinating dies that go with this. And in addition to that, there is the Jolly, this is the Jolly felt. So in here, there's a sheet that's in Bumblebee, Cherry Cobbler, Old Olive, and White. Now, I am using this in one of the projects that I am doing in this video. Now, I will say that die cutting machines are different. The one that I was using, I tried to die cut, some little stars out with one of the dies in the set, and it just wasn't fully cutting it through. But what's nice about this, you can cut it, you can trim it, you can die cut it, but it just wasn't working, so I opted for another option. But the felt is really cool. There's also this Pool Party 3/8 of an inch wide striped grosgrain ribbon. So you have Pool Party and white. And then there is the matte decorative dots. So we have Cherry Cobbler, Bumblebee, Old Olive, and then this is Evening Evergreen. And then we have the DSP. The colors in the DSP, this is the Sweet Stockings Designer Series paper. We have Basic Black, Bumblebee, Cherry Cobbler, Cinnamon Cider, Evening Evergreen, Old Olive, and Pool Party. So in this paper, we have one side that has some really cute animals on it. And you got some here. Gotta love this cat up here that looks like he just got all wet and he's just not happy at all. Um, and then we have one with some printed stockings on it. We have this pattern here. You gotta love that grumpy cat in there. Our first card is actually going to use some of that paper. And then there's some more prints that have some animals on it. And then you got some Christmas lights. And then the back side of these papers are a good background, just like neutral type of designs on it. So we'll be using this as well. So let me kind of get some of the stuff out of the way that we're not going to be using. Put that there. Kind of move stuff so we have some room. Okay, so for my first card, let me bring in my pieces. And I also have my ruler here. I don't have my printout. Actually, hold on. I do have my printout here. Let me bring it up, and then that way I can look off of this. What do I want? That way I don't have to use the ruler on my measurements. Let's see, videos, and I've changed up on like my Throwback Thursdays. Instead of doing the pre-record where I have the sped up parts and all of that, I do it as a live, and I set it as like a private live because it just goes faster on this. Okay, so I have my Word document right here that has all of my dimensions. Okay. All right. So this first card is a very simple card. This is a card that you definitely could duplicate, and it would be a great, easy, and quick Christmas card. So I have a piece of Evening Evergreen. Now, Evening Evergreen was an in color, and I will tell you that this is definitely like my favorite color as far as like a green for Christmas. I'm hoping one day that this color makes a comeback, as part of our core colors when we do a color refresh, which I don't know when that'll happen again. Usually they happen every 5 years, and I think it was like about 2 years, I think now, since we last had one. So that'll be a while from now. But anyway, this Evening Evergreen piece measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4.25. I have a piece of that Sweet Stockings DSP. This measures 5 by 3 3/4. Ahead of time, I have a piece of Cherry Cobbler. This measures 3.5 by 3/4. I have gone ahead and I stamped it in Versamark, and then I used the Wow Gold metallic gold embossing powder on here, and then on the end here I did flag it, and for that I had used, this is the Banners Pick a Punch. So you have different widths of cardstock you can put in here to punch the two different banner ends. So I did that ahead of time. And then I have a piece of that Pool Party ribbon, and let's go ahead and put this together. This, like I said, this card is very quick and easy to make. This would definitely be a card that you can mass produce for doing your Christmas cards. Okay, I'm going to bring in my seal. And I'm going to add some to the back of this. All right, and then I'm going to add it to my card base here, and I'm going to put it at an angle. Okay, and then I want to place this label down. Now I want to figure out where I want to put it because I don't want to cover up my animals, so I'm going to place it here in the middle between this cat and this dog. So I'm going to take my seal and I'm going to add some right here. I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm going to place that down right here. Now this part here is not sticking down. Actually, let me see. I'm going to move it up just a little bit. Move it up just a little. And then fold it over. And we'll place it down like that. And I do want to move this down some. I don't want it off of the edge of the card. Okay. Then on my embossed strip here, I'm going to bring in, let me see, I want a pair of snips here that's not for the ribbon. So let me bring these in. I'm going to use these end pieces that are from my dimensionals. What's nice is that once the little dimensionals are gone, you still got the edges that you can use, so waste not. Okay, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to place this over here and try and get it straight. And it's crooked. I'd stick it from my ribbon. I'm going to add a little bit of ribbon of, not ribbon, a little bit of adhesive to hold this ribbon down. Like so. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with my greeting. Place that down and make sure that that's looks straight. Off just a little bit. Okay, press that down. And then I have my snips that are specific for ribbon. And I'm going to snip the ends of this ribbon here. I'm going to flag them. Whoops, I totally missed my garbage can there. And snip this end. Okay. And let's move all this stuff out of the way. And then I'm going to bring in these matte decorative dots. Now with these dots, they come in, like I said, Cherry Cobbler, Bumblebee, Old Olive, and Evening Evergreen. And what's nice about these things, what they resemble, remember those candy dots? I don't know if they even still have them anymore, but I remember them as a kid. Now, what's nice about these, they're all kind of like an ombre effect to them. So you have like a whole row of 3 different sizes going from dark and then going down to lighter. So I'm going to use some of these lighter cherry cobbler ones. And I'm going to add a few of these on here. And then there's these little tiny ones right there. Okay, so like I mentioned, there is our first card. Very simple and quick to get put together. So let me go ahead, put this aside, and then let me bring in the stuff for my next card. Now, for my next card, there's a lot of stuff that I already did ahead of time. So I did some stamping and some pre-die cutting ahead of time. So for this one, let me kind of move all my little bits here. So I have a piece of basic white thick. This measures 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it at 4 1/4. Then I have another piece of the Sweet Stockings DSP. It's actually the back side of the pattern that we just used. This is the same size as our card front, so it's 5.5 by 4 1/4. I have another piece of basic white. This measures 4.5 by 3 1/4. I have a piece of Old Olive. This measures 4 1/4 by 2 1/2. I have cut a piece of that Jolly Felt in the Bumblebee color. This measures 3 1/4 by 1/2. Then I have a scrap piece of Old Olive. Out of a scrap piece of basic white, there are some images here that I already went and stamped in the Memento Tuxedo black ink. So I have, let's see, I have the pieces. So I have the dog head, the hamster, and the cat. And then I have the 3 different stockings that's in the stamp set. And then there is a Santa hat. And then out of Bumblebee cardstock, out of that little, excuse me, that little star die that is in the set of dies, I've die cut 5 of those. Now I did try die cutting these out of the felt, and it just didn't cut through when I went to put it through, so I decided to just bring out the cardstock and die cut those. Okay, so also with this, I have my evening evergreen ink. I'll be stamping my greeting on my scrap piece of old olive. So I'm going to need that. And then I have some blends in here because we are going to be doing some coloring. So it'll take a little bit to color all these things in. So I'm going to set those all aside, and I'll let you know what those colors are when we get to that part. And then the other thing I'm going to bring in on my old olive scrap piece here, I'm going to use this punch. This punch is the Everyday Label Punch. So I'm actually going to take care of this part right now. I'm going to punch out this label. And we're going to stamp our greeting on that. So I'm going to pull that one out, and I will do that now. So I'm going to bring out the greeting that says, Santa Paws is coming to town. So let me grab my block. Okay, and then actually there's another stamp I do need out of here. So there's this one stamp that has these little X's on it. Get a block for that. Make sure it's the right way. Okay. So let me take my card base and fold and burnish that. Okay, bone folder. And I can close that now. Yeah, let's do that. All right. Then I'm going to take my DSP piece and I'm going to glue this on. Now, I'm not going to use my seal on this. And the reason why is once I put this down, that seal is going to stick it really, really well. And then it just becomes harder to try and line this up perfectly onto the card base. So I'm going to use my glue on here, and it makes it a little bit easier on lining it all up and then sticking it down. Now the glue that I am using, this is the Tombow multi-purpose glue that we sell in our annual catalog. I just have it in a fine tip glue bottle that I had gotten off of Amazon. There is a link to it. Now I'm not an affiliate with Amazon. It's just a link to some of the products that I get off of there that I use in my crafting. Okay, thing is with that glue, there's a latex in that glue, so a little bit goes a very long way, so you don't need much to have your stuff stick really, really well. Okay, so we have gotten that part. Then on this piece right here, I'm going to take this piece of basic white. Now I'm going to do just a little tiny bit of adhesive. And I want to kind of line this up on here. And I want to kind of have an equal distance of that old olive showing in the back. I want to kind of line this up. Let's see. Okay. Still off a little bit. I'm really struggling on getting things straight, aren't I? Okay. Okay, I just want to do it that way so I know how to line this all up when I go to stamp. Okay, so I'm going to take my Evening Evergreen ink and I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap paper. Okay, I'm going to take this, put this right here. Trying to make sure that this thing stays straight and doesn't wiggle around. It likes to move. Okay. So I'm going to ink this up. And I'm going to stamp this right along the top here. Like so. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom part of this old olive. Okay. Put that aside. Now I can take this off. Okay, we'll set these pieces aside. Then on this piece here, I'm going to bring in my little guillotine paper cutter. And I want to trim down this. So on this label, where this point is, I want to cut straight across on the top and the bottom of it. So I'm going to make this label a little bit smaller. So I'm going to line this up. Right along the edge here. Trim it. Okay, so now we have a custom made label. Just wanted to trim that down some because we don't need it that wide. Okay, let me get rid of these two pieces and this scrap paper. Actually, I'm going to need that again, so I'm going to leave that out. Then I'm going to take my greeting and ink that up. And I will stamp this on here. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. And stamp it right there. Like so. And so look, wow. Excuse me. It's a little bit crooked, so I'm going to stamp it again on the other side. Yeah, it never fails. It's like you go and you hit record on your phone, and that's when, you know, your throat's got to get all wonky on you, and then you can't talk. Okay. I think that side's better. Don't know why I can't get that straight. But yeah, that'll be okay. All right, so let me put that aside. Okay, and then I'm going to take my old olive piece here. Add some seal to this. Okay, and then I'm going to place this right here on my card base. Wow, it's really not straight. Okay. And then my piece of basic white, I'm going to add adhesive to this. And then I'll center this right here, like so. Okay, we'll set that aside. We'll set our label aside along with our piece of felt. Okay, so let me bring back in my scrap paper here, and we're going to do some coloring. I'm going to start off with my stockings. So for this larger one, I'm going to bring in my light and dark cherry cobbler and my light and dark old olive. And I'm going to start with my dark. I'm going to do these outer edges. And I'm going to skip 2 lines and do it again. And then we're skipping 2. Okay, and then I'm going to bring, excuse me, I'm going to bring in my light cherry cobbler. And I'm going to fill this in, kind of blending some of that dark. Okay, and then bring in my dark old olive. So I'm going to skip 1. So it's going to be the cherry cobbler, white, and then the green. Excuse me. I apologize for that. I should go grab my water. Okay, so then we got green here. And then right up here at the top. Okay, let me go get a quick sip of water. Okay. All right, and then I got my light old olive. All right. All right, so let me set that aside. Then let me bring in this smaller one, and I'm going to take my dark old olive. I'm just going to go around the outer edge of this. Okay, and then light. Fill this in. Okay. And then I'm going to take, let's see, my dark gray granite. And I'm going to do this trim right here. Do it right here. And then for the toe part. Okay, so there is our second one. Now I'm going to bring in my third one. Now for this one, I'm going to bring in my dark So Saffron. Now this color is very light, so you may have a hard time seeing it. Let me see if my brush tip will be a little bit darker. It's a little bit. Then my brush tip is not the best on this. And then I'm going to go around the edge. Yeah, the brush tip on this is very worn, so it's very flimsy. But it seems like I can get a little more of the darker color out of it. I don't know how my lighter one don't look any better. That looks horrible. So I'll use the bullet tip. And again, it's just very light. There actually is ink in this, but it's really, really light. Okay, we just want something a little bit subtle on that. Okay, then I'm going to bring in the, I'm going to bring in my light Old Olive first. I'm going to let that dry some. And I'm going to do like this little zigzag trim here. Okay, and then on the toe part of my stocking. Okay, and then I'm going to take my dark. I'm going to do this trim part here. And this one here. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my dark cherry cobbler. And I'm going to go around these remaining edges. Could bring this down a little bit. Get a little bit closer. And I'll move my lights a little bit more so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so I'm just going to go around the edges. And then I'm going to take my light cherry cobbler and I'm going to fill this in. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit because I'm going to stamp over that cherry cobbler part with cherry cobbler ink, and then there's a stamp in here that has these little bitty stars in there. So let me pull those out. I got my cherry cobbler ink. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to let that dry a little bit before I stamp over it. Okay, so for the Santa hat, I'm going to use my dark and light cherry cobbler on this one. Okay. Okay, now one of the things that I want to do with this, let me get my snips. So on this Santa hat, I am going to be placing it on the dog's head. So this little bit right here that's under that stamped line of, and this is like very blurry, I apologize. I mean, maybe if I move it down, but this little extra edge of cardstock right here, I'm going to trim that off. Like so, because that's going to go on top of the dog's head. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. And then let me bring in my animal pieces. So for the cat, I'm going to bring in my light and dark smoky slate. And I'm going to go and do like the shadow areas with the dark. I'm not trying to be perfect in any way with this. Okay. And then come in with the light. I'll use my brush tip on this. Okay, so there's our cat head. I'll set that aside. And then on my hamster, for this one, I'm going to bring in the bronze and the ivory. These two are packaged together. I'm going to do some of the shadow areas with my bronze. And then I'm going to fill it in with the ivory. So with our blends, you get them in a 2-pack. So with all the colors except for like the bronze and ivory, you get a light and a dark shade of that color. We also have our, I think they're called neutrals. Those are all of our skin tones. So for those, they'll the color names on those would be like deep or deep, like medium deep, or uh medium light, you know, but those two are in 2 packs as well. It's amazing when you start recording, you forget words. And I know I'm not the only one that happens to. Okay, so there is my hamster. Set that aside. Then I'm going to bring in my dog, and the colors I'm going to use with this is my dark and light crumb cake. So the shadow areas, I'm going to use the dark. Get some of this hair up here. And then we'll get his paws. Let me get these all out of the way. And bring this in. Okay, so there's that. The coloring's all done. And then I'm going to bring in this stocking again. And I have my little trio of little stars here. And I'm going to stamp some of these right into this cherry cobbler area of my stocking. And I need to clean that because with ink on the edge of that block, I don't want it where I don't want it. And of course my stamp comes off. Okay. Add a few more here. Okay. So let me clean this since I have this right here. And then I'll clean these other two. When the stamps are really small, they like to come off of the block if you get any of that, the cleaner from that's on my Stampin' Scrub underneath the stamp. Okay. Move that out of the way. And then we'll close this up. So now we are ready to do some assembling here. Okay. So with this larger stocking here, I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. And I do have one. Did have a sheet started here. Guess I don't. All right. So on this one, I'm going to add a couple to the back, or a few actually, onto the back of this. And I'll do the same thing with these other two stockings. So this one, this card is a little more detailed, so this would probably be one that if you make it, you probably will just do a few of them because there is a little more to this, and of course a little more coloring, so they're a little more time consuming. Okay, so then all of these other pieces I'm going to, well, the hat I'm going to glue that, but these other ones I'm going to add a dimensional to the back of those. Okay, so then this larger stocking, I'm going to place this one over here. Now I'm not going to completely stick this down quite yet. I want to make sure I have it in the right place. And then I have the dog right here. Okay, and then I'm going to take my other larger stocking, the one that I stamped these stars in, and I'm going to place this one over here. Like so. I want it to be too high. And then we'll put the cat head on that one. And then we got our smaller one for our hamster. We'll place this one right here. And then our hamster, go right there. So, okay. Then the Santa hat, I'm going to bring in my liquid glue. Add a little bit just to this rim part. And we'll put that on our dog's head, like so. Okay. And then I'm going to take my seal, and I want to see where I'm going to put this. So I'm going to place this right here. I want to add some seal there because I want this glued down. Pop this up a little bit. And move it down some. Press that down. And then on my greeting piece, I'm going to bring in my little dimensionals for this. Let's see. Okay. I'll bring in my take your pick tool. I'm going to add a few on the very bottom of my greeting. And then I'll add another one like right up in this area right here to hold the top part of it down. You can see there's a little bit more to this card, so this is definitely one to mass produce, it would take a while to create a bunch of these. So then I'm going to take my greeting and I'm going to place that right. I'll try and place it on here straight. Wow, why am I struggling? Okay, so we can press that all down. And then I'm going to bring in my liquid glue and we're going to place these stars onto our card. So let me turn these over. Make sure that they're the right way up. Okay. And then I'm going to add 2 of the stars over here. Use the putty end. Okay. And then we'll add another one up here. Okay, we want it to stick to the cardstock. We don't want it to stick to my finger. And then we got our last 2. So I'm going to add one up here and one down here. Okay, stick down. And then this one. Okay, so on this one, I didn't add any of those matte dots to this since I had so much else going on this card. It just would have been a little too much. Okay, so there is our second card. So a little more detail to this one than our first one. But this is actually a sample of the card that's in the, I think this was in the 2021 holiday mini catalog. So this is basically the same card that we've made. And then here is the first one, much simpler and really letting that excuse me, really letting that DSP do all of the work. So there are projects for this episode of Throwback Thursday. If you like the products that I have made, please give the video a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel, like and comment. All of that really does help me in not only growing my channel, but it also helps me in building my Stampin' Up! Business. Also, in the description of this video, you'll find all of the dimensions of the cardstock and paper pieces and all the supplies that I have used on these. Also, there are a few links in there. We do have what has opened up for demonstrators. If you would like a copy of the new January to April mini catalog along with the celebration brochure, again, that starts in January. Right now, demonstrators are able to place an order to have Stampin' Up! Directly mail these catalogs to you. You would need to create a profile or an account on my Stampin' Up! Page. Put that in, your address, your mailing address, and all that information in there. And then that way I can add you to my list to send out catalogs. Words are hard. Sorry about that. Also, there is a link in the description if you would like to subscribe to my monthly newsletter. I just recently sent one out and it has all the information of what's going on with Stampin' Up, what it is that I'm doing. I do have an in-person class that is coming out on the Saturday before Thanksgiving. So if you are local to me here in Memphis, Tennessee, I do have a little link to, where you can let me know you'd like to come and I can add you. The classes right now are free. Also, there is a video schedule that I do put out there of all of the products that I'll be using in my videos. That's my Friday Night Lives and my Throwback Thursdays. And if there's a monthly Christmas card inspiration at the beginning, there's also the paper pumpkin. I create one of each of the projects that are in that month's kit. And if there's a holiday, I also throw in a special holiday video as well. And this month we do have Thanksgiving. So tomorrow, like I said, I do Friday night lives, and I will be going live tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I would love for you to join me. So until then, everyone, be safe and have a blessed one. Bye bye.